3 months had passed since they found the first station. Jack Morrison sat in his quarters and reviewed the data for the 100th time. They had visited 4 more archaeological sites across this sector of space. Each one told the same story. Each one pointed at Earth. A knock at his door broke his concentration. "Come in?" Lisa Chen entered, carrying a datapad. She looked tired. They all did. "We finished translating the records from the 4th site. And it's worse than we thought." She sat down and handed him the pad. The species that built that station called themselves the Dreth. They were peaceful traders, very similar to the Valkyrie. They made first contact with Earth 12,000 years ago. Jack felt his stomach drop. 12,000 years? That's impossible. Humans didn't have space travel then. "That's what we thought." Lisa pulled up an image on the pad. It showed a primitive spacecraft. Crude, but functional. The design was unmistakably human. The Dreth kept detailed records. They encountered human ships in the Outer Rim. The humans were friendly. They traded technology for resources. The Dreth thought they had found a new ally. What happened? The Dreth civilization collapsed within 50 years. Their records end with a final transmission. It talks about ships coming from the 3rd planet, about humans who smiled and promised peace, then silence. Jack set the pad down. His hands felt cold. 12,000 years ago, Lisa. That predates every known human civilization. Egypt was barely getting started. Most of humanity was still nomadic. "I know. But the evidence is clear." She brought up more files. And it gets stranger. Lieutenant Rodriguez found something in the communication logs. A pattern. What kind of pattern? The time gaps between extinctions. We thought these civilizations died at random intervals. But when Rodriguez plotted them on a timeline, she noticed something. They cluster. Multiple civilizations die in the same century, then nothing for thousands of years, then another cluster. Jack studied the timeline. She was right. The pattern was clear once you knew to look for it. Like waves. Exactly. Like someone or something was actively expanding across the galaxy. Then they would stop. Then start again. A message appeared on Jack's communication screen. It was from Peter Hayes. "Captain, please come to the briefing room. We have a situation." Jack and Lisa made their way to the briefing room. Peter was there, along with Lieutenant Rodriguez and a new face. Kevin Walsh, the cryptographer from Earth Intelligence, had arrived on a fast courier ship 2 weeks ago. His job was supposed to be routine decryption work, but his expression suggested otherwise. "Show them," Peter said. Kevin brought up a holographic display. It showed an ancient star chart, covered in symbols and markings. "This is from the Jatik archives. We found it buried in their deepest files, protected by encryption that took me 3 weeks to crack." The star chart showed hundreds of systems, all marked with different colors. Most were green, some were yellow, a few were red. And right in the center, surrounded by empty space, was Earth. It was marked in black. "What do the colors mean?" Jack asked. "Green means safe. Yellow means caution. Red means danger." Kevin pointed at Earth. "Black means something else. The Jatik word doesn't translate directly, but the closest I can get is quarantine zone." Lisa leaned closer. "Quarantine for what?" "There's a note attached to Earth's designation." Kevin pulled up the text. It says, "Apex Predator Preserve. Do not approach. Do not engage. Do not wake." The room went quiet. Rodriguez broke the silence. "I've been analyzing the radio frequencies from the archaeological sites. 3 of them were still broadcasting automated warnings. I cleaned up the signals and found something." She played an audio file. It was distorted, broken by static, but the words were clear enough. They were in English, Old English, from centuries past, but unmistakably human. "This is Forward Station Kepler 442, Day 3512. No contact from Earth Command in 20 years. We suspect the reset protocol has begun. We will maintain our position and continue monitoring. If anyone receives this, remember the accord. Humanity has chosen peace. Do not remind them of what they were. Jack felt the floor shift under his feet. Earth Command? Reset protocol? What is this? I don't know, Rodriguez said, but I found similar messages at all the sites. Different stations, different people, but the same basic content. About humanity choosing to forget something. Peter Hayes crossed his arms. Captain, I think we need to face the possibility that our history is not what we've been told. That's a big leap, Commander. Is it? Think about what we've found. Advanced human ships 12,000 years ago. Warnings that span hundreds of thousands of years. Star charts marking Earth as a quarantine zone. And now, these messages about a reset. Peter's voice was calm, but firm. Something happened. Something big. And someone went to great lengths to hide it. Lisa pulled up another file. There's something else. The civilizations that left warnings. I've been studying their final years, looking for commonalities. And? They all show the same pattern of decline. Sudden loss of colonies, ships disappearing, communication breakdowns. But here's the interesting part. None of them show signs of invasion. No battles. No wars. They just vanished. How is that possible? I don't know. But I found records from the Krell, the oldest civilization in the database. They kept very detailed military logs. In their final decade, they reported encounters with an unknown force. Ships that moved faster than anything they had seen. Weapons that disabled their defenses without destroying them. And tactics that were described as frighteningly efficient. Jack sat down. This was too much. Let me get this straight. You're saying humans were traveling space hundreds of thousands of years ago. That we encountered these civilizations and they all disappeared. That someone in Earth's history decided to hide all of this and start over. That's what the evidence suggests, Lisa said quietly. Kevin Walsh spoke up. Sir, there's one more thing. When I was decrypting the Jatik files, I found a reference to something called the Continuity Project. The translation is rough, but it seems to be some kind of human organization. The Jatik knew about it. They were terrified of it. What did it do? I'm not sure, but there are references to it in other archives too, always in the context of humans watching, waiting, maintaining something. Jack stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars stretched into infinity. Somewhere out there was Earth, home, the place where humanity had supposedly evolved from primitive ancestors into a spacefaring civilization over the course of a few thousand years. But what if that was wrong? What if humanity had been among the stars for far longer? What if they had done something so terrible that they chose to forget their own history? His communication console beeped. A message was coming through, heavily encrypted. Jack opened it. His blood went cold. The message was simple. Return to Earth immediately. Bring no one. Tell no one. Come to the following coordinates in Geneva. There was an attachment with the exact location. The message was signed by someone named Director Stephen Cross. Jack had never heard that name before. But at the bottom was a seal, a symbol he recognized from intelligence briefings. It was the mark of a division that officially did not exist. Captain, Peter asked, what is it? Jack closed the message. Change of plans. We're going back to Earth. Sir? I received orders from someone who apparently knows what we've found. Jack looked at his crew. These people had become more than colleagues. They were friends. They had uncovered a mystery that could change everything humanity believed about itself. What are we going to do? Lisa asked. We're going to find answers. Real ones. Jack made his decision. Lisa, you're coming with me. Peter, you keep the ship in high orbit. Don't land. Don't communicate with anyone, except me. If something goes wrong, take the horizon's edge and run. Run where? Anywhere but here. Take all our data and find someone we can trust. Peter nodded slowly. Understood. The horizon's edge turned toward home. As they traveled through the dark, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far bigger than they had imagined. Earth had secrets. Humanity had secrets. And somewhere, somehow, someone had been keeping those secrets for a very long time. The quiet ones are watching, the warnings had said. Jack was beginning to understand what that meant. The quiet ones weren't aliens. They weren't external threats. The quiet ones were human. They had always been human. And they had been watching for hundreds of thousands of years, making sure no one discovered the truth. But now the truth was coming out, and Jack had a feeling that nothing would ever be the same again. The building in Geneva looked ordinary. It sat between two museums, old stone walls and narrow windows that had seen centuries pass. Jack Morrison and Lisa Chen stood outside, checking the address 3 times. This was the place. "Are you sure about this?" Lisa asked. "No," Jack said, "but we're here now." They entered through a wooden door that creaked with age. Inside was a small lobby with antique furniture and paintings of Swiss landscapes. An old man sat behind a desk, reading a book. He looked up as they entered. "Captain Morrison, Dr. Chen, please follow me." The old man led them to an elevator hidden behind a bookshelf. As they descended, Jack counted the floors. They went down far deeper than any ordinary building should go. 10 floors, 20, 30. Finally, the elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a corridor made of white metal. The walls hummed with power. Security cameras tracked their movement. This was not an ordinary building. This was a military installation, hidden beneath Geneva, for who knew how long. At the end of the corridor stood a man in a dark suit. He was 50, maybe 60, with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see right through them. "Captain Morrison, Dr. Chen, welcome. I'm Director Stephen Cross." "Where are we?" Jack asked. "Somewhere that doesn't exist on any map. Please, come with me. We have much to discuss." Cross led them through a maze of corridors. They passed rooms filled with equipment Jack didn't recognize. Scientists worked at consoles, studying data that looked centuries ahead of anything Earth's public research had produced. Finally, they reached a large chamber. Inside, holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps and historical timelines. A woman stood studying the displays. She turned as they entered. She was younger than Cross, maybe 40, with tired eyes and ink-stained fingers. "I'm Dr. Chen," she said. "Laura Bennett, Chief Historian for the Continuity Project." "The Continuity Project," Lisa said. "We found references to it in the alien archives." "I know," Bennett said. "We've been tracking your discoveries. You've done excellent work, better than we hoped and faster than we feared." "Who are you people?" Jack demanded. "What is this place?" Cross gestured to the chairs. "Please sit. This will take some time." They sat. Cross and Bennett took seats across from them. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Cross began. "The story you've been taught about human history is a lie. Not entirely false, but incomplete. The cities, the empires, the slow march of civilization from stone tools to space travel, all of that happened. But it's not the whole truth." "Then what is the truth?" Lisa asked. Bennett brought up a holographic display. It showed Earth, surrounded by stars. 900,000 years ago, humanity reached the stars. Not the humanity you know. An earlier version, physically identical to us, but different in temperament, different in culture. "That's impossible," Jack said. "Evolution doesn't work that fast." "You're right. It wasn't evolution. It was selection." Bennett changed the display, showing images of ancient battles. The humans who reached the stars first were the survivors of Earth's ice ages. The strongest, the most aggressive. The ones who could look at a hostile universe and decide to conquer it. Cross continued the story. They built an empire, a vast interstellar civilization that spread across this entire sector of space. They encountered other races, the Krell, the Zotic, the Dreth, dozens of others. What happened to them? Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. We destroyed them, Cross said simply. Not quickly, not with overwhelming force. Ancient humanity was more subtle than that. We would make contact, share technology, integrate ourselves into their societies. And then, when they trusted us, when they depended on us, we would take control. Lisa's face went pale. You're saying we conquered the galaxy through infiltration? Yes, it was frighteningly effective. A civilization would welcome us as friends. Within a generation, they would be gone. Not killed, not enslaved, just gone. Absorbed into human society, their unique cultures erased, their populations scattered across human worlds until they forgot what they had been. Bennett pulled up more images. They showed human soldiers in armor that looked both ancient and advanced. They showed ships that moved faster than anything modern Earth could build. They showed weapons that could disable entire fleets without firing a shot. We were very good at war, Bennett said quietly. Too good. We fought not with passion, but with cold efficiency. We studied our enemies, learned their weaknesses, exploited their fears. We won every battle before it began. Jack stood up. He needed to move, needed to process what he was hearing. If this is true, why did it stop? Why don't we rule the galaxy now? Cross and Bennett exchanged glances. Cross spoke. Because we met something we couldn't beat. What? We don't know exactly. The records from that time are incomplete. Ancient humanity traveled beyond this sector, into deep space. They found something, or something found them. Whatever it was, it terrified them. For the first time in their history, humanity faced a threat they couldn't understand or defeat. Bennett continued. The war lasted 100 years. We lost, badly. Ancient humanity retreated back to this sector, back to Earth. And then they made a choice. What choice? To start over, to become something different. Cross stood and walked to the holographic displays. The leaders of ancient humanity looked at what they had become. They saw the fear they created in other species. They saw the destruction they had caused. And they realized that if they continued on that path, they would eventually destroy themselves. So, they decided to reset civilization, Lisa said, to collapse their own empire and start fresh. Exactly. They destroyed most of their technology. They erased the records. They scattered humanity back across Earth and let us rebuild from scratch. But they didn't leave us completely alone. Bennett pulled up a new display. It showed a timeline stretching back 900,000 years. At intervals along the timeline, small marks appeared. Every few thousand years, a small group maintains the truth. We guide humanity's redevelopment. We seed the right technologies at the right times. We make sure humanity rediscovers space travel, but slowly, peacefully. You've been manipulating human development for 900,000 years, Jack asked. We prefer the term guiding, Cross said. And yes, the Continuity Project has existed since the reset. We pass the knowledge down through generations. We make sure humanity never becomes what it once was. But why the secrecy? Why not just tell people? Because humanity needs to believe we evolved naturally into a peaceful species. If people knew the truth, if they knew what we were capable of, some would want to reclaim that power. Cross's voice was firm. We've seen it happen. Every few centuries, someone discovers fragments of the old technology. They think they can control it. They can't. The Continuity Project exists to make sure those discoveries are contained. Lisa stood up. You said ancient humanity met something they couldn't beat, something in deep space. Is it still out there? The old records are fragmentary, but the warnings are clear. Humanity reset itself, not just out of shame, but out of necessity. We needed to become different, stronger, in ways that didn't involve pure military might. So when the Velkhari discovered us, Jack said slowly, that wasn't an accident. No, we've known about the Velkhari for centuries. We monitored their development, waited until they were ready. Then we arranged for them to find Earth. We wanted humanity to join the galactic community. But we wanted it to happen on our terms, as a peaceful species, as partners, not conquerors. Cross pulled up a final display. It showed a recording, ancient and grainy. The image showed human soldiers fighting something Jack couldn't quite see. The soldiers moved with terrifying precision, their tactics flawless, but they were losing. Whatever they fought was faster, smarter, more ruthless. This is from the war. From humanity's encounter with the unknown. Watch carefully. Jack watched. He saw human ships destroyed. He saw tactics that should have worked fail completely. He saw fear in the soldiers' eyes, something ancient humanity had never felt before. We lost that war because we finally met something that fought the way we did, something that saw us the way we had always seen others, as prey. Cross turned off the display. The reset was our survival strategy. We couldn't beat this enemy as we were, so we changed. We became something new, something they wouldn't expect. And now, Lisa asked, are we ready? If that enemy comes back, are we prepared? We don't know, Bennett admitted. That's part of why we allowed humanity to return to space. We needed to see what modern humanity was capable of, whether 900,000 years of careful guidance had produced something better than what we were. Jack felt the weight of centuries pressing down on him. Why tell us this now? Because you discovered the truth on your own, Cross said. You're not the first. Others have found fragments over the years, but you're the most thorough, and your discoveries are about to become public knowledge. What do you mean? There are others investigating Earth's inconsistencies. Historians, scientists, alien researchers. The pattern is becoming too obvious to hide. Within a year, maybe less, someone will put all the pieces together. And when they do, the galaxy will panic. So what do you want from us? Cross and Bennett looked at each other. Finally, Cross spoke. We want you to help us decide what to do next. The secret is coming out. We can't stop it, but maybe we can control how it's revealed. Maybe we can use it to prepare humanity for what's coming. What is coming? We don't know, but the old warnings are clear. The enemy from deep space is still out there, and if history repeats itself, they're watching, waiting. They've always known where Earth was. They let us reset because it suited their purposes. But sooner or later, they'll come back. Jack looked at Lisa. She looked back at him. They had come here seeking answers. They had found them. But the answers only led to more questions. There's more, Bennett said. Something we haven't told you. The reason we brought you here instead of silencing you. What? The ancient defense networks, the weapons platforms, the automated systems our ancestors built. They're still out there, still active, still following their last orders. Bennett's voice was quiet. To protect Earth, at any cost. Chris Palmer stared at his computer screen and checked his calculations for the 10th time. The numbers didn't lie. Something was wrong with Earth's history. Very wrong. He was a young historian, only 28, working at a small university in California. Most people ignored his work, but the gaps in Earth's archaeological record had bothered him for years. Cities that appeared too quickly. Technologies that showed up without any development phase. Stone Age societies that suddenly built complex structures. Now he had proof. Palmer had spent 3 years compiling data from every major excavation site on Earth. When he plotted it all on a timeline, the pattern became obvious. There were gaps, periods of thousands of years where human development seemed to jump forward without explanation. He wrote his paper carefully. He titled it, Discontinuities in Human Development, Evidence for Missing Chapters in Terrestrial History. It was careful. It was academic. It asked questions without making wild claims. He published it online. He expected maybe a few hundred downloads, maybe some academic debate. Within a week, 10 million people had read it. Ambassador Nicole Sanders sat in her office at the Galactic Council Station and watched her career crumble. Palmer's paper had spread across the human networks like fire. Now alien researchers were taking notice. Questions were being asked. Questions she couldn't answer. Her communication console beeped. It was a summons from the council. They wanted to speak with her. Now. The council chamber was a massive room, designed to accommodate dozens of different species. Sanders walked to the human section and stood before the assembled representatives. The Velkari ambassador, a tall being with feathered crests, spoke first. Ambassador Sanders, we have concerns about recent information coming from human sources. Information that suggests Earth's history may not be what you have told us. I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, Sanders lied. She had been briefed by Director Cross 2 days ago. She knew exactly what was coming. A Tethra investigator named Krelvox stepped forward. The Tethra were a species known for their analytical minds and their love of puzzles. Krelvox had been studying human history for months. Ambassador, I have been researching your species' development. I have found inconsistencies. Your rate of technological progress is abnormal. Your genetic diversity is too low for a species your age. And there are gaps in your fossil record that cannot be explained by natural processes. Every species has gaps in their history, Sanders said. Not like this. Krelvox projected a hologram showing Earth's timeline compared to other species. The differences were stark. Your species claims to have developed space travel in less than 10,000 years from primitive agriculture. The Velkari took 40,000 years. The Jathik took 60,000. Yet somehow, humans did it faster. We're quick learners. Or you already knew how. Krelvox changed the projection. Now it showed the archaeological sites that Jack Morrison had discovered. These warning stations, they all reference humanity. They all date back hundreds of thousands of years, long before humans should have had space travel. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives from dozens of species began talking at once. Sanders felt the situation slipping away from her. This was exactly what the Continuity Project had feared. On Earth, Director Cross watched the council session through a secure feed. Colonel Ryan Mitchell stood beside him. Mitchell was military liaison for the Continuity Project, a career soldier who had learned the truth 10 years ago. It's happening, Mitchell said. The secret's out. Not yet, but soon. Cross switched to another screen. It showed Chris Palmer being interviewed by news networks. The young historian was becoming famous. We need to contain this. How? He's published. The data is public. Even if we silence Palmer, others will continue his work. I know. Cross sat down heavily. We always knew this day would come. The question is how we manage it. Mitchell's communication device buzzed. He checked it, and his face went pale. Sir, we have a problem. A bigger problem. What now? They've just released a statement, claiming they have proof of humanity's ancient empire. They're calling for Earth to stop hiding and reclaim its rightful place as a dominant power. Cross closed his eyes. The Revelation Movement. A fringe group that had existed on the edges of human society for decades. They had always suspected the truth. Now they saw their chance. Where did they get their information? Unknown. But sir, they're not wrong. They have real data. Old data. Someone gave them access to classified files. Mara Voss stood before a crowd of 10,000 people in New York City. She was the leader of the Revelation movement. A woman who believed humanity had been held back by cowards and fools. Now she had proof. "They lied to us," she shouted. The crowd roared in agreement. "Our leaders told us we evolved slowly. They told us we're just another species, nothing special. But the truth is different. The truth is we ruled the galaxy once. We were powerful. We were feared. And then someone decided to hide that from us." She projected images on the massive screens around the plaza. Images from the ancient archives. Human ships, human weapons, human soldiers conquering worlds. This is what we were. This is what we can be again. But first, we need to stop pretending. We need to stop hiding. We need to show the galaxy what humanity really is. The crowd cheered. Videos of the speech spread across Earth's networks. Within hours, similar rallies were happening in London, Beijing, Mumbai, Sao Paulo. On the Galactic Council station, panic set in. Species that had welcomed humanity now looked at Earth with fear. The Valkyrie ambassador demanded explanations. The Tethra requested immediate sanctions. Smaller species began evacuating their embassies. Sanders tried to maintain control. "The claims being made are unverified. We're investigating." "Investigating what?" Krell-Vox demanded. "Your own history, Ambassador. We have seen the warning stations. We have read the ancient texts. Every extinct civilization in this sector left warnings about humanity. Are you claiming they all lied?" "I'm claiming we don't have all the facts yet." "Then get them. The Council will reconvene in 1 week. At that time, we expect full disclosure from Earth. Everything, the truth about your history, the truth about what happened to the lost civilizations. All of it." Sanders left the chamber and immediately contacted Director Cross. "We're out of time. The Council wants answers in 1 week." "I know. I watched the session." "What are we going to do?" "Tell them the truth," Cross said, "or at least part of it. We can't hide anymore." But before they could act, disaster struck. A Tethra exploration fleet, led by Krell-Vox himself, decided to investigate the Sol system personally. They wanted to find proof of humanity's ancient empire. They wanted to search the outer planets, the asteroid belt, anywhere ancient installations might still exist. They jumped into the outer solar system at high speed. Their sensors immediately detected something. A massive structure hidden in the asteroid field beyond Neptune. It was dormant, covered in rock and ice, but their scans showed it was still functional. "Captain, that structure is emitting a faint power signature," the Tethra sensor officer reported. "It's ancient, very ancient." "Move closer, prepare to dock." But as the Tethra fleet approached, something woke up. The ancient structure came to life. Lights flickered on, weapon systems activated, and an automated defense network that had been sleeping for 900,000 years remembered its purpose. Protect Earth. At any cost. The Tethra fleet didn't have time to retreat. The ancient weapons fired, not to destroy. That wasn't how ancient humanity fought. The weapons were precise, calculated. They disabled the Tethra ships completely, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. Then the defense network sent a message, not to the Tethra, to Earth, to the Continuity Project. Warning: unauthorized vessels detected in protected zone. Defense protocols activated. Awaiting orders. Director Cross stared at the message in horror. "Oh no." Mitchell read over his shoulder. "Sir, the Tethra fleet. Are they?" "They're alive. The network disabled them but didn't kill them. But that doesn't matter. The galaxy just saw humanity's ancient weapons in action." Within hours, the news spread. A human defense network had destroyed a Tethra fleet. An ancient network that Earth's government claimed not to know about. A network that proved every warning from the dead civilizations was real. The Galactic Council went into emergency session. Fear turned to anger. Anger turned to demands. Every species now saw Earth as an existential threat. a threat that had been hiding among them, pretending to be peaceful while ancient weapons watched and waited. Senator Matt Richardson stood in the Human Parliament building and watched the news feeds. He was a politician who had always advocated for peace, for cooperation with other species. Now, his entire worldview was collapsing. "We need to make a statement," his aide said. "The people are scared. The aliens are scared. Everyone wants answers." "What answers can we give them? That our history is a lie? That we're the monsters every dead race warned about?" Richardson sat down. "How do we come back from this?" His communication device buzzed. It was a message from Director Cross. "Senator, we need to meet. There's more you need to know." Richardson looked at the message. More secrets, more lies. The truth was coming out, whether anyone wanted it or not. On the horizon's edge, Jack Morrison watched Earth from high orbit. He had returned just in time to see everything fall apart. The secret he had tried to contain was now public knowledge. The galaxy knew, and they were terrified. Peter Hayes joined him at the observation window. "Captain, we're receiving reports of alien ships leaving Earth orbit. The embassies are evacuating. Some species are calling for military action against us. Can we blame them? If I were them, I'd be scared too. What do we do?" Jack didn't answer immediately. He thought about the ancient warnings, about the civilizations that had vanished, about the defense network that still protected Earth after 900,000 years. "We tell the truth," he said finally. "All of it. Not just about what we were, but why we changed, why we chose to start over." "Will that be enough?" "But it's all we have." Down on Earth, the Revelation movement continued to grow. Mara Voss's message resonated with people who felt weak, who wanted humanity to be strong again. The ancient weapons proved they could be. But others, like Senator Richardson, remembered why humanity had reset in the first place. They remembered the warnings from the Continuity Project about what ancient humanity had become. The galaxy stood on the edge of war. Earth stood alone. And somewhere in deep space, beyond the reach of any telescope, something ancient stirred. Something that had been watching humanity for 900,000 years. Something that remembered what humans had been. Admiral Kate Brennan stood on the bridge of the defensive platform orbiting Earth. Through the massive windows, she could see the alien fleet assembling beyond Mars. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all united by one thing: fear. "Ma'am, the Velkari flagship is hailing us," her communications officer said. "Put them through." The screen flickered to life. The Velkari commander looked tired. "Admiral Brennan, we do not wish for war. But your ancient weapons have left us no choice. Either you deactivate all human military systems, or we will be forced to act." "Those systems are beyond our control," Kate said. "They're automated. They've been running on their own for 900,000 years. Then you must find a way to shut them down. We cannot allow such weapons to remain active." Not when they have already attacked a peaceful research fleet. The Tethra fleet entered restricted space without authorization. Restricted by whom? By systems that predate every civilization in this sector? By weapons designed to destroy anyone who comes near Earth? The Velkari commander leaned forward. "Admiral, you must understand our position. We welcomed humanity as friends. Now we learn you have been hiding the truth. That you are the reason dozens of civilizations no longer exist." Kate wanted to argue, but what could she say? The evidence was clear. Ancient humanity had been exactly what the aliens feared. "Give us time," she said. "We're working on a solution. You have 3 days. After that, the fleet will move forward." The screen went dark. Kate sat down heavily. How could they solve in 3 days what the Continuity Project had been managing for 900,000 years? In Geneva, Director Cross met with Jack Morrison, Lisa Chen, Senator Richardson, and Mara Voss. Getting Voss to the meeting had been difficult. She didn't trust the continuity project. But the threat of galactic war had convinced her to listen. "We have 3 options," Cross said. 1. We activate all the ancient systems and fight. The defense networks are powerful enough to destroy the alien fleet. Probably powerful enough to conquer the galaxy again. "No," Richardson said immediately. "That's exactly what we've spent 900,000 years trying to avoid." "I know, but it's an option." 2. We surrender. We allow the aliens to inspect our systems. We give them control over Earth's defenses. "That's suicide," Voss said. "Once they control our defenses, they control us. We become a subject species." "Or perhaps we prove we're serious about peace." Cross pulled up a holographic display. 3. We shut down all the ancient systems, permanently. We prove to the galaxy that we've truly changed by destroying the tools of our past. The room went silent. Jack spoke first. "Director, those systems are our last line of defense. If we shut them down, we're vulnerable." "Yes, but maybe that's what we need to be. Vulnerable, trusting, human." Mara Voss stood up. "You're all insane. You want to give up the only thing that makes us strong? Those weapons are our heritage. They're proof that humanity can be great." "They're proof that humanity can be monstrous," Richardson countered. "Mara, I've read the files. I've seen what ancient humanity did, the civilizations they destroyed, the cultures they erased. Is that really what you want us to return to?" "I want us to survive. Those aliens out there, they're ready to attack us because they're afraid. If we show weakness now, they'll destroy us." Lisa Chen had been quiet, studying the data. Now she spoke. "There's something else we need to consider. The enemy from deep space. A one ancient humanity couldn't defeat. If we shut down our defenses, what happens when they return?" Cross looked at her. "You think they're coming back?" "I think they never left. The warnings in the ancient archives are clear. Humanity reset itself because it had to. Because something forced us to change. If that something is still out there, and we disarm ourselves, we might be making a fatal mistake." Jack stood and walked to the window. Outside, Geneva looked peaceful. People going about their lives, unaware that their entire species stood on the edge of extinction. What did ancient humanity find out there, in deep space? "We don't know," Cross admitted. "The records from that time are fragmentary. Whatever it was, it scared our ancestors enough to abandon everything they had built." "Then maybe we should be scared too." A new voice spoke from the doorway. "Or maybe we should be ready." Everyone turned. Kevin Walsh entered, carrying a datapad. "Sorry I'm late, but I've been going through the ancient archives, and I found something. Something important." He projected a hologram in the center of the room. It showed a map of the galaxy, with red markers scattered throughout. "These are the locations of ancient human outposts, places where our ancestors built listening posts and observation stations. Most were shut down during the reset, but a few kept running." "Running for 900,000 years?" Richardson asked. "Yes. Automated, watching, and recording." Kevin pulled up a data stream. 3 months ago, one of these stations detected something. Movement in deep space. Something coming from beyond the galactic rim. The room went cold. Jack looked at the data. "How far away?" "Hard to say. The signals are distorted by distance. But based on the trajectory and speed, if it continues on its current path, it will reach this sector in approximately 50 years. 50 years, Cross said quietly. The enemy is returning. Mara Voss sat back down. Her anger had drained away, replaced by fear. So what do? We prepare, Jack said, but not the way ancient humanity did. Not through conquest and fear. We do it the right way. What's the right way? We unite the galaxy. We tell them everything, about what we were, about why we changed, and about what's coming. Richardson nodded slowly. And we give them a choice. Fight with us or fight against us. But we make it clear that the threat is real, that ancient humanity didn't reset out of shame alone. They reset to prepare for this. Senator Richardson stood before the Galactic Council 3 days later. The chamber was packed. Every species had sent representatives. Everyone wanted to hear what Earth would say. Members of the Council, Richardson began, I am here to tell you the truth, all of it. Not because we want to, but because you deserve to know. He told them everything. About ancient humanity's empire. About the civilizations that had fallen. About the reset, and the 900,000 years of carefully guided development. He told them about the Continuity Project and the lies that had been maintained. The chamber erupted in anger. Representatives shouted. Some called for Earth's immediate quarantine. Others demanded military action. Richardson waited for silence. Then he continued. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. We lied to you. We hid our past. But I ask you to consider why we did it. He projected Kevin Walsh's data, the image of something moving through deep space. 900,000 years ago, humanity encountered something we couldn't defeat. Something that showed us we were not the apex predators we thought we were. Ancient humanity reset itself not just out of shame, but out of necessity. To become something new. Something that might survive what's coming. Krelvox, the Tethra investigator, stood up. You're saying there's a greater threat? That we should trust you because of some vague warning from your ancestors? No. I'm saying we should work together. Because whether you trust us or not, that threat is real. And it's coming. Richardson pulled up more data. The recordings from the ancient listening posts. The fragmentary reports from humanity's last war. But it was enough to show that ancient humanity had faced something truly terrifying. We have 50 years, Richardson said. 50 years to prepare. We can spend that time fighting each other, or we can spend it getting ready for what's coming. The choice is yours. Back on Earth, Jack Morrison met with Admiral Brennan and Director Cross. What's the verdict? The Council is divided, Cross said. Some species want to work with us. Others want us isolated. A few still want military action. But they're listening, Brennan added. Richardson's speech bought us time. Not much, but some. Jack looked at the star maps. What about the ancient defense systems? We're going to shut them down, Cross said, publicly, in front of Council observers. We'll prove that we're serious about peace. That's risky, I know. But Maravos was right about one thing. The aliens are afraid of us. The only way to change that is to make ourselves vulnerable. The shutdown took 3 weeks. Council observers watched as Earth's engineers disabled the ancient weapons one by one, the defense platforms, the automated fleets, the surveillance networks. All of it was powered down, dismantled, or destroyed. The galaxy watched. Some species relaxed. Others remained suspicious. But the message was clear. Humanity was choosing peace. Mara Voss watched the shutdown from her home in New York. She had lost her following. The Revelation movement had collapsed once people learned about the threat from deep space. Strength through conquest seemed less appealing when there was something stronger out there. She sent a message to Senator Richardson. I was wrong about what we should be, but I'm still scared. Richardson replied quickly. So am I. But fear is better than ignorance. At least now, we can prepare properly. On the horizon's edge, Lisa Chen studied the data from the ancient listening posts. She had been going through the records for weeks, trying to understand what ancient humanity had faced. Jack, she said one evening, I think I know why they reset. Why? Because they realized they were fighting the wrong way. Ancient humanity tried to beat this enemy through military might, through tactics and weapons and pure aggression. It didn't work. So, what will work? I don't know, but I think that's the point. Ancient humanity reset itself to find a different answer, to become something the enemy wouldn't expect, Something that could survive not through strength, but through adaptability. Jack thought about that. So the last 900,000 years, the slow development, the emphasis on cooperation and diversity, it was all preparation? Maybe. Or maybe it was just us becoming better. Becoming what we should have been all along. 6 months after Richardson's speech, the Galactic Council passed a resolution. Earth would remain a member, but under observation. In exchange, humanity would share its knowledge about the threat from deep space. The species of the galaxy would work together to prepare. It wasn't perfect. There was still suspicion, still fear, but it was a start. Director Cross stood in the empty headquarters of the Continuity Project. The organization was being dissolved. The secrets were out. The long watch was over. 900,000 years, he said to the empty room. Was it worth it? He didn't have an answer. But as he turned off the lights and walked away, he thought about the future. About humanity working alongside other species. About the preparations for the coming threat. About the chance to prove that the reset had been the right choice. In deep space, beyond the reach of any telescope or sensor, something moved through the darkness. It had been watching humanity for a very long time. Watching them conquer, watching them fall, watching them rise again, different than before. The Watchers were curious. Ancient humanity had been predictable, easy to understand, easy to defeat. But this new humanity was different, softer on the surface, but with hidden depths. They had chosen peace, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. The Watchers wondered if it would be enough, if humanity's long performance was finally over, if the Quiet Ones were ready to stop pretending and face what was coming. Time would tell. The Watchers were patient. They had waited 900,000 years. They could wait 50 more. Jack Morrison stood at the observation window of the horizon's edge. Somewhere out there, the enemy was coming. Somewhere out there, the test was waiting. Lisa Chen joined him. What are you thinking? That maybe ancient humanity was right. Maybe we needed to change, to become something better. Do you think it worked? Are we better? Jack smiled. I don't know, but we're about to find out. Earth spun quietly in space, no longer hiding, but not yet ready to show its full strength. The galaxy watched and wondered. And humanity, for the first time in 900,000 years, faced the future without pretending. The Quiet Ones were ready, not for conquest, not for hiding, but for whatever came next. Together with species they once would have destroyed, humanity would stand and face the darkness. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. Captain Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and stared at the dead star ahead. The brown dwarf hung in space like a piece of old metal, cold and dark. But the sensors showed something else, something that should not be there. Captain, I'm getting a reading, said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. There's a structure in orbit. Big one. Jack leaned forward. How big? 20 kilometers across, maybe more. Dr. Lisa Chen looked up from her research station. She was the ship's lead scientist, and she had been waiting for a discovery like this for years. Any signs of life? Negative, Rodriguez replied. It's dead. Been dead for a long time. Jack made his decision quickly. Take us in. Slow approach. Keep all weapons ready. Commander Peter Hayes stepped up beside him. Peter was Jack's second in command, a military man with sharp eyes and a careful mind. No, Jack said, but that's why we're out here. The horizon's edge moved closer to the ancient station. As they approached, the lights on the bridge dimmed automatically. The station was massive, built from materials that Earth scientists had never seen before. Parts of it were broken, torn apart by time or violence, but most of it remained intact. I'm reading power signatures, Rodriguez said. Her voice carried a hint of surprise. Faint, but they're there, Something inside is still running. Lisa Chen stood up. Captain, request permission to lead the survey team. Jack nodded. Granted. Take Hayes with you, and take a full security detail. 3 hours later, Lisa stood inside the alien station. Her suit lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in strange symbols. The air inside was thin, but breathable. The gravity generators still worked, pulling at 1/3 Earth normal. This place is old, Peter Hayes said through the communication link. His team had spread out, checking every corridor and room. Really old. Lisa ran her scanner over the nearest wall. The device beeped and displayed information that made her pause. Peter, come look at this. He walked over, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. What did you find? These symbols. I've seen them before, in the archives from the Jathic expedition. She touched the wall gently. The Jathic went extinct 50,000 years ago. This station might be their work. 50,000 years and it still has power? Someone built things to last. Lisa moved deeper into the station, following a corridor that sloped downward. The symbols on the walls grew more dense. They seemed to be telling a story. At the end of the corridor, they found a chamber. It was huge, the size of a football field. In the center stood a device that hummed with quiet energy. Screens floated in the air around it, displaying text in dozens of different languages. Captain Morrison, Lisa said into her radio, you need to see this. Jack arrived 30 minutes later. He stood in the chamber and looked at the floating screens. What is all this? A library, Lisa said. Or a warning system. Maybe both. She pointed at one screen. This text is Jathic. This one is Velkari, but ancient Velkari from before they developed spaceflight. And this one, I don't recognize it at all. She touched a control panel. The screens shifted, bringing new text into focus. Lisa began to read, her face growing pale. What does it say? Jack asked. Lisa swallowed. It's a warning. The Jathic left it for anyone who would come after them. She pointed at the symbols. They're warning about something. A threat. What kind of threat? I need to translate more. Lisa worked for hours, her fingers moving over the alien controls. Jack stayed with her, watching as she pulled up file after file. Peter Hayes organized the security team, making sure the station was truly empty. Finally, Lisa stepped back from the console. Her hands were shaking. Talk to me, Lisa, Jack said. The warnings all point to one place. One set of coordinates in space. She brought up a star map. A red marker pulsed in the center. These coordinates. Jack studied the map. His blood went cold. That's the Sol system. That's Earth. Yes. What exactly do the warnings say? Lisa pulled up a screen with translated text. She read it slowly. The quiet ones are watching. Do not wake them. Do not provoke them. They came in peace, but left only silence. Jack stared at the words. The quiet ones. They're talking about humans? I think so. But Captain, this doesn't make sense. The Jathic died 50,000 years ago. Humans were still living in caves back then. We didn't have space travel. We barely had fire. Could they be wrong? Could they mean someone else? I don't think so. Lisa brought up more files. Look at this. And this. 6 different civilizations left warnings. All of them point to Earth. All of them use similar language. Peter Hayes joined them. He had been listening over the radio. How many civilizations are we talking about? So far, 6 confirmed. But the database suggests there might be more. Maybe dozens more. Lisa's voice was steady, but Jack could hear the fear underneath. Captain, these civilizations span hundreds of thousands of years. The oldest warning is from a species called the Krell. Their language is so ancient, I can barely translate it. How old? 800,000 years, give or take. The 3 of them stood in silence. The ancient station hummed around them, its generators still faithfully running after all this time. Jack made a decision. We don't report this yet. Not to Earth. Not to the Galactic Council. Captain, that's against protocol, Peter said. I know, but think about what we're saying here. Every dead civilization in this galaxy left a warning about humanity, about Earth. If we report this now, we could start a panic, or worse. Lisa nodded slowly. We need more information. We need to understand what really happened. Exactly. Jack looked at the star map, at the coordinates pointing to his home world. The database. Can you access all of it? I think so. It's going to take time, but yes. Then we start digging. We find every warning, every record, every piece of evidence. Jack turned to Peter. And we keep this quiet. Just the three of us for now. And if we find something bad? Peter asked. Jack looked at the floating screens, at the warnings written by civilizations long dead. Then we figure out what to do about it. But first, we need the truth. Lisa began downloading files from the ancient database. The horizon's edge settled into orbit around the dead star. Jack stood at the window and looked out at the darkness. Somewhere out there, Earth was turning. People were living their lives, going to work, raising children. They thought they knew their own history. But what if they were wrong? What if humanity's past was darker than anyone imagined? What if the warnings were real? Jack pushed the thoughts away. They would find answers. They had to. The download would take weeks. They had time. But as Jack watched the ancient station spin slowly in the void, he felt something cold settle in his chest. The feeling that once they learned the truth, nothing would ever be the same again. Rodriguez's voice came over the speaker. Captain, I'm picking up similar structures in nearby systems. At least 4 more stations like this one. Jack closed his eyes. 4 more stations. 4 more sets of warnings. Plot a course to the nearest one. We're going to visit them all. Yes, sir. The horizon's edge would continue its mission. They would uncover the warnings, one by one. And somewhere, somehow, they would find the truth about Earth, about humanity, about why every dead race in the galaxy had left the same message behind. The quiet ones are watching. Jack wondered what that meant. He wondered if he really wanted to know.